Hey there, men. Welcome back to the Wolf and Iron Podcast. Mike Yarbrough here, coming at you from my truck here on a Truck Talk Thursday. Happy Truck Talk Thursday to you all. Hope you're doing well this week. I hope some good things are happening for you. I want to talk today about putting your religion out there and being straightforward and forthcoming with what it is that you believe. And I've kind of done this a little bit on the sly, I guess, in some ways, maybe especially as Wolf and Iron was first beginning as a blog, and then kind of was more vocal about it over time. And sometimes I forget, like new guys coming on to the podcast, you're tuning in for the first time, and you're thinking, oh, this guy sounds really cool. There's a lot of things I like about what's going on. I love what he's talking about, but you have no idea what my faith stance is. And so I want to clear some things up on that. One of the things I was thinking about, though, as I was jumping into this, was I don't know how many Truck Talk Thursdays we have now, because I stopped numbering episodes back when we started having like interview episodes and then Truck Talk Thursdays, and then we'd have Ask a Man, and then it just got crazy. And I thought, this is just nuts. I don't know what to number the things, and it's who cares if it's number 30, number 1,000? You really are more concerned with what the content is. But anyhow, my point in saying that is we've had a number of these Truck Talk Thursday episodes out now, and it seems to be really well received. The data looks good on it. It's kind of funny, actually. I mean, I'll spend a couple of hours putting together, through back and forth emails and answering questions, and then the interview itself, doing an interview-based podcast, right? There's a lot of work, actually, that goes into those, getting those things set up. And there's some benefits there in terms of if they promote it on their site and there's somebody who's well known. But they get about as many downloads, maybe sometimes even less downloads, typically, than a Truck Talk Thursday episode, which is me in my truck talking to you guys on my way to work or wherever I happen to be going. And so I appreciate that you guys have given me that feedback. Let me know that if I miss posting one, you guys reach out to me and let me know if, and you guys will put out there that you've appreciated these. So it's good to see that these are hitting home. Anyhow, so I'm a Christian. And what does that mean? Well, it can mean a lot of different things. I was raised Baptist. I was Church of Christ for a little while, really because my wife was Church of Christ. That's where she felt comfortable. And then we became non-denominational for a good while, and that's kind of where we are now. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I believe that he's the Son of God. I believe that he was a real person. I believe that he performed miracles. I believe that he was crucified and rose from the dead. I believe in Adam and Eve, and in most days I believe in the creation story 100%, and some days I question that. But I think that's kind of normal for Christians. There's probably other details I could go into as well. Let's see. I'm not a Calvinist. I'm not 100% Arminian either. If you're not familiar with those terms, I'm thinking if I should suggest that you do yourself a favor and go look up Calvinism and Arminianism, or if you should just not open that can of worms at all and just be like, happily dumb and just, I believe in Jesus. That's good enough. Anyhow, but for those of you who it makes sense, that's kind of where I fall more on the kind of Reformed Arminian sort of side. If those two things don't typically go together, but it's a thing apparently. So, but I don't put myself in much of a box. When I began Wolf and Iron, I decided that I didn't want to, even though I was a Christian and Christianity is a primary influence on my morals and my values in my life, and especially a big impact on me as a man, of course. I didn't want to start everything out with like a chapter and verse. I didn't want it to have to correlate to some kind of Bible doctrine. I didn't want to have to say I was sponsored by X, Y, and Z church or any of those types of things. Because I get really disappointed in the circle of Christianity and Christian knowledge that's permeating out there. I don't like the Christianity that is pop culture kind of Christianity. I'm not a big fan of church services, as most of them go. Anyhow, I could go on a rant here about why I'm a Christian, but there's a lot of Christian things I don't like. Or typical kind of modern Christian things I don't like. I'm not even a big fan of communion. I think it's kind of dumb. I think that we ought to just sit down and eat with each other and do that in remembrance of Christ with bread and juice or wine or whatever. I think there was something bigger that he was getting, that Christ was getting to there, than like, you guys should have a formal thing where you cut up all your bread into little squares and pass out tiny little droplets of wine so everybody can, it's just that kind of stuff drives me crazy. Anyhow, but I am a Christian. Why am I telling you guys this? Because I want you to know where I stand. I want you guys to know what my worldview is. There's another reason for this, though. It's been kind of eating at me a little bit. Here in the world of manliness, there are a number of guys out there that are either doing a really bad job of leading guys down a path that they shouldn't be going down, and some of that's because they have a really screwed up worldview. They hate women. They don't really like being a man. They do like the macho kind of bro stuff, but they're very insecure. On the other side of that, we've got some guys that are like Ryan Mickler with Order of Man, and then Brett McKay from The Art of Manliness, and those guys are Mormons. And it gets kind of confusing, right? So if you're not familiar with where Christianity stands and where Mormonism stands, or I guess I should say Protestant Christianity, and because here's the thing. Some people will go out and say Mormons aren't Christians. At the same time, they believe in Jesus. At the same time, they don't really believe in Jesus the same way Christians believe in Jesus, that he's the literal Son of God and these kinds of things. They think Satan was his brother, and they got some strange beliefs there. I don't really know where the breakdown is in terms of like how much of it you got to get right in order to be saved by Christ, right? I think about the thief on the cross who doesn't really know much. He's making a profession of faith that Jesus is deity of some kind. Don't forget me when you get into heaven, right? Or don't forget me is what one of the thieves is saying. The other thief is like, screw you guys, we're all going to die, no big deal. But the one thief is like, don't forget about me. And Jesus says, look, this day you and I will be in heaven together. Now, I'm pretty sure that the thief did not have his theology down pat. And yet, he knew something about Jesus that inspired him to say, this is the guy I want to follow. And so, to my Mormon brothers who I love out there, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job, even though you got screwed up beliefs. You're doing a fantastic job leading men, helping men be better men. I think it's important for guys to know a little bit about why we believe what we believe. And for myself, I want to be able to, at a moment's notice, at any point in time, to be able to say, here's how my faith influences what I believe, and come challenge me on it. Come challenge me on it. Come challenge me on my Christianity. Because if you start breaking that down, then you start to break down really my whole frame of reference. What does it mean to be a man? What is good? What is evil? My whole philosophy kind of comes out of this. Not for the Bible's sake. Meaning not, I don't use the Bible to validate the Bible. That's illogical. It's a illogical fallacy. A lot of people do that. Well, the Bible says this. Yeah, no, but why is it true? Well, because the Bible says. No, but why is it true though? And they can't break out of that cycle. That's really bad for them. I think a lot of people that are stuck in whatever religion it happens to be. Maybe it could be Mormonism, it could be Catholicism, it could be Hindu, it could be Buddhist, it could be anything you can think of, right? And Christianity, of course, too. You could be a strong Southern Baptist and you just don't question certain things. That's how I kind of grew up. And a lot of hypocrisy outside of it, but you just weren't allowed to bring things up, question things, bring things to the table. Wherever it happens to be coming from, you've got to be in a place, especially if you're going to be public, like many of us are, you've got to be at a place where you're willing to be challenged on these things. And not only that, but you're challenging yourself. Why do I believe what I believe? How do I know that it's actually true? And you have to do that with some transparency to the outside world. Because here's what I assume is true, is that you men who are listening to the Wolf and Iron podcast, some of you, many of you, the vast majority, I imagine, are Christian of some sort, believers of some sort, but not all of you are. And so some of you guys are coming to the podcast because you like the things that I talk about that are just good, kind of across the board, manly things. Others of you that are Christian are going to be kind of watching my walk and seeing how I kind of hold up to a certain set of principles and values that ought to be fundamental to me, right? But then again, that's one of the reasons why I don't ascribe, is that a word? Subscribe? I don't necessarily follow a particular religious protocol. and because I see things that I don't like, and I just have to kind of go with my own judgment about what I believe is right, what I believe is wrong. And that's going to work in some Christian circles just fine, and in other Christian circles, especially the more legalistic ones, we're not going to get along with some of my, our deeper held beliefs. But that being the case, guys, whatever it is that you do, now this isn't just for me and for Order of Man, for Art of Manliness. Whatever it is that you do, I think that your faith ought to be a component of it. Because if it's the driving force of your life, if it's the thing that informs you most about how to live as a man, shouldn't that be something that is very, very evident to people? Shouldn't that be something that people can see and ask questions about and dig into? And it doesn't have to kind of be behind this guarded wall? That's what I think. Now, I know I can't stand it when a politician gets asked this question. How does your faith influence the way that you think about and the policies that you might make, right? And they're usually trying to do this as a gotcha, the person that's asking the question in some kind of debate. And the politician's ready for it, but they make the worst, they say the worst possible answer. They say, well, my faith is very personal to me, it's very private, and just as I believe everybody's faith is very personal, nobody wants to hear that crap. People want to hear what you believe, man, even if I don't agree with it. Tell me what you believe. So what drives you? If it's God, you need to make sure people know that about you. If it's something else, make sure people know that about you. But I'll tell you guys, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. I believe in angels. I believe in the hereafter. And, that drives so much of what I do here at Wolf and Iron. And so I don't always talk about it. I don't always bring it up. I don't think it's always necessary, because I think over a course of time, you guys are going to find these things out. I do try to announce it at any kind of introductory emails and things like that when people first come onto the Wolf and Iron podcast. But I'm a Christian. I'm proud to be a Christian. And even after all the years of, going through the blog and into podcasts with Wolf and Iron, and the challenges with my kids' health and my own marriage struggles that are still just to this day an issue, I'm proud of the things that I believe. It's actually just strengthened my belief, and I've dug in on these things. So hopefully that's helpful, guys. A bit of a rant, I guess, but listen, if you're following somebody, make sure you find out what they believe. Make sure you find out where they're coming from. There's a proverb that says something along the lines that there's a way that seems right to a man, but it's actually the way that leads to death. So you guys have probably read that. I don't remember where that is in Proverbs, because I'm not a good Christian, I guess. But there's a way that seems right to a man, but it's actually a way that leads to death. Now, you can take that literally, you can take that figuratively. But the point is that you may be following somebody that seems right. You may be following somebody that seems right, but then there's something about it. And it's not going to be overt, otherwise it wouldn't seem right. But there's going to be something about where they're leading you that's not healthy. It's not going to be good. And it may lead to death. Death of your soul, death of your marriage, death of your relationship with your kids. And you got to inspect those things. And so, call people out. Ask them, what do you believe? Where do you get this from? What drives you? What really deep down is your core principles, the pillars that just gird everything that you believe in? And how have you tested them? How have you put them through the ringer to make sure that they're true? That's a great question. It's a great question for ourselves. All right, fellas. That's it for this Truck Talk Thursday. Talk to you guys next time.